What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Early Edge. A very happy Friday to this very active chat. Love to see everybody already throwing in picks. I see Bradley, you've got something coming up. Congratulations to you. Good morning, CID. Love to see the activity. Hopefully you've already hit the like button, and you might like our recap screen. It's a winning record from yesterday, 6-4. Technically, yesterday we were 6-3, but don't forget my Russell Henley bet, which actually lost, was a Wednesday pick, and Russell Henley ended up losing by 1 stroke, but we hit the other two. 2 out of 3 for me, 2 out of 2 for Buckets. Maestro goes 1 for 2. Listen, a lot of people were on that BYU pick. It did not come through. And then, of course, Ohio State, our SportsLine picks in college basketball stay relatively hot. We'd love to see that. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot. So today we've got soccer. Today we've got some NBA props. We've got a lot of college basketball. And I see some of you in the chat asking golf questions. Yeah, we've got golf too. And a little spoiler alert, one of you has pinpointed my pick. Very, very impressive. But you know how we do it on a Friday. We stay positive, we stay a little loose, and we do it like Big Pick Energy Friday. Oh, yeah, I want to see this. Oh, what is going on here?
No! Yeah!
I don't even know what that is, Buckets, but we got to wait. I got to wait on you. I got to wait on you because it's Friday and I'm not sure. What's up, Phil Bobbitt, Japan, Taylor DeHart, Snug the Cat? I'm not sure. What's up, Big Cheesy DBU? If everybody has had their double espresso today, good news, because if you have not, I've got something for you, and we like to call it here at the Early Edge. It's our Chip Me Up.
Good morning, Sia. Good morning, Danny. Good morning, Buckets. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Early Edge fam. You know how deep March Madness is to my soul. I tap back into highlighters and red pens and handwritten everything when we go into this. You have memories. You've got nostalgia. Boy, I was grown up in North Carolina. This is in my blood. Can't wait to break down more picks with y'all today.
Gosh, I absolutely love that. And I got to say, by the way, you broke out the pen and paper. I didn't know you were going to do that. There has been some controversy on Twitter about what is the best pen in the business. And I got to tell you, I know a lot of people agree with me. This is the G2 Pilot pen, but a lot of people disagree with me, which I find very curious and very shocking. If you have a favorite pen, and if it's not the G2 Pilot, I don't want you to put it in the chat. But if it is the G2 Pilot, put it in the chat. Danny Brasco, do you have a favorite pen?
I can't say I do, but I do like that you guys have a pen game. That's I'm more of I wish I was born in a different era so I could write with an ink and quill. That's my style.
Ink and quill. Alex Jones says G2 Pilot is goated. He's right, Buckets. Speaking of goated, before we get to our official picks, and you're going to go first with a couple of soccer picks. I mean, I really didn't want to bring this up, but yesterday there was a question in the chat about a Liverpool game, and you... Curiously enough, you kicked it to me because you know I'm a renowned soccer capper. I said, hey, let's take Liverpool over 1.5 goals. And they scored 3 goals in the first 15 minutes for a total of 6. Are you nervous that there's a new kid on the block, Buckets?
Well, here's the problem, Sia, if we really want to have this discussion. You said Liverpool over 1.5 goals. That was minus 800. So if we're going to start giving out minus 800s all willy-nilly, then sure, we can have that conversation. But regardless, Liverpool showed up. That was a hell of a game. But let's be a little careful before we talk too much trash here.
Dang it. You know what? I gotta be honest. I didn't know that. I probably should have run this by you before the show. Minus 800. I mean, I can't even put that in a money line parlay and have it have any value. But anyway.
But it hit. But you were right. So
I mean, yeah, it looked good at the time when somebody tweeted out that they scored 3 goals in 15 minutes. Zach Doyle, Sia for Prez. I absolutely love that. Again, if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. But Buckets, let me ask you this. We've got some soccer in, and I'm not going to mess with this. I'm not going to mess with any minus 800 lines. You've got a minus 115 and a minus 135. You have the floor. Talk to us.
Let's start with some Ligue 1 taking place in France today. And I'm looking at the matchup between FC Toulouse and Olympique Lyon. And if you've been watching Olympique Lyon this year, they were a very difficult team to bet for like the first 4 months because Lyon was terrible. They were falling apart. Nothing was going right for the squad. And then they got what we have seen so many times before. They got a new manager bounce. They redid how they were doing things. And now Lyon has been on fire since they brought on new personnel here. And if you're looking for one guy on this team to keep an eye on, it's Alexander Lacazette. He is basically Lyon right now. He has been scoring for fun right now. And this Lyon side is finally having this bounce back they desperately needed. I'm taking Lyon draw no bat here at -115 because I think Lyon will win this outright. And this is crazy. They might win this without conceding a goal against Toulouse. Toulouse is a fine side, but they're an inconsistent side when playing at home. I think an informed Lyon is going to have too much for them right now. Then for our second pick, of course, we're going to the German Bundesliga. You see me repping my Bavarian crest here. Bayern Munich do not play today, but FC Cologne and RB Leipzig do. This is a tough matchup because RB Leipzig is so much better than Cologne. It is not even close. Leipzig will probably score 3 or 4 goals here. However, Cologne is in a relegation battle, and they have a new manager who loves playing for draws. This new manager for Cologne does this very frustrating thing from a betting perspective. Well, they will score first, and then they will take everyone in the attacking positions and put them in the defending positions. They will park the bus, and they will play for that 1-0 or win or 1-1 draw. You can't do that against Leipzig, but both teams to score being playable at -135 for Cologne at home is something I have to take every time.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing about both of those soccer picks. So well done, Buckets. I totally agree, unless they don't come in. And then I kind of on the other side there. By the way, if you're looking for Mike McClure, who's usually here on a Friday, he'll be back next week. So he's not on the show today. He's moving, actually. So we will see him very soon. It reminds me, does anybody know who Mitch Hedberg is on this show?
Yeah, to me,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you in the chat that don't know who Mitch Hedberg is, he's an acquired taste, perhaps. You might need to give him 5 or 10 minutes. He's one of the best stand-up comedians of all time, passed away some time ago. But it reminds me when somebody says moving, one of his lines was, I don't help people move, I help them stay put. I go to their house and I make sure they just don't start loading stuff onto a truck. But his delivery is so good. Mitch Hedberg, one of the absolute GOATs, along with the G2 pilot Ben. Another GOAT. BetMGM. Check out this promo. This is a new one. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's EDGE. $1,500. Wow. Love that. New customers if you sign up today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get to my picks. I have a golf pick, which starts this afternoon, and I've got a college basketball pick, which honestly, when I'm done giving that one, Chip, I might bounce it off of you, and just to see if you have an opinion one way or the other. You won't hurt my feelings if you don't like it. And then, Danny, we got to get to you, and then, of course, we got to get to the SportsLine and Chip's picks. But before we do that, let's hear one quick message from our partners.
The blackout mystery remains.
Welcome to March Madness. You just never know in the tournament who is going to shine.
Stream March Madness live on any device, anywhere, and be ready for anything.
All right, we are back on the early edge, and it's time to give out my golf pick. There was somebody in the chat, forgive me, make yourself known because, there's so many people putting stuff in there that sometimes I don't catch the name, but somebody said, hey, what do you think, Sia, today about Jason Day over Minwoo Lee? When I saw this one, it really, really jumped out to me more than most. And that's not me saying you should put more money on this one than any other golf bet that I put out there. But Jason Day -120 over Minwoo Lee. First of all, there's so many things going for Jason Day. And one of those is just that he had a much better round one than Minwoo Lee. For the record, Minwoo Lee wasn't bad in round one. He was kind of even across the board, lost a little bit in the approach game, which is what we expect from Minwoo Lee. He's an off-the-tee giant. He can sometimes pick it up with the short game, but approach play isn't really his bag. And I think in this tournament, on this course, you really need to be dialed in on approach, especially in the afternoon when the winds pick up and the greens get a little bit less soft, a little bit harder. The approach play from Jason Day was really good yesterday. In fact, everything he did yesterday was really good. I also find him to be a better course fit. So when I see that he had a better day one, and I see that coming into this tournament, he's certainly a better course fit. And for the record, Jason Day's been playing some pretty good golf, as has Minwoo Lee. But again, the course fit and the recent play and the round one play all point to Jason Day -120 over Minwoo Lee. Really big fan of this. I really think this should be as good as Minwoo Lee is. I think this one should have been like -135. I still would have taken it at -135, and I probably would have backed off at -140. If you don't have this at your book, feel free to message me. I already see people in the chat. They're saying, hey, Jason Day for Sung J M. I do like that, Mark Thomas. I would lean that way. I like it better against Minwoo Lee, but Sung J M, He's a good course fit. He's done well here, but I still like Jason Day a little bit over Sung J M, so that's a good one. And then Tom Hoagie over Min Woo Lee. Somebody else put that in. I like that one as well. Brent Ritchie. These are not official plays. These are plays that you guys have that I'm just leaning toward. But Tom Hoagie minus 135 over Min Woo. I think I would play that as well. So Brent Ritchie, you can go ahead and fire away there. All right, my NCAA pick before we get to Danny Brasco's picks. It's Nebraska minus 3.5. Listen, Indiana played yesterday. A lot of people were on Indiana. A lot of smart people at SportsLine were on Indiana, and they pulled it off. They got the win. But I don't think they looked very good. And frankly, this whole season, we kind of know they haven't looked really good. They got a couple big guys inside. They're certainly going to be a menace, especially on the offensive boards, probably against Nebraska. But Nebraska's the better team. You look at the metrics, offensively, defensively, they're certainly the better team. There's really no argument there. But we have a 3.5-point spread, so we have to be mindful of not just saying, well, they're the better team. With all of that said, Nebraska's on a nice little run. They've beaten up on the Big Ten bottom feeders. They've beaten up on the middle tier of the Big Ten ever since February. And the teams that they've lost to are like kind of the top tiers, right? Like the Illinois, the Wisconsins. They've taken those teams really long. They've taken them to overtime, in fact. So I think they're playing the great teams good, and they're playing the bad teams in the Big Ten even better. And I kind of slot Indiana into the close to bad team category, even though they're playing a lot better now. So give me Nebraska minus 3.5 in the Big Ten tournament. All right, those are my two picks. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get to Danny Brasco. And Danny, I hate how, what's interesting about you is that you cover all sports and you're really good. People know you from the NFL, but you cover other sports too. And we do kind of box you in to UFC and to fighting because you are so good at that. And your presentation, everything is just pristine. But honestly, it is across the board. So I do want to give you credit, even though we're talking fighting. People should know, if you don't already follow Danny on Instagram and on Twitter, you need to know he covers it all and he does it really well. He is extremely sharp. So Danny, a lot of pressure I just put upon you here. You got a couple picks. Talk to us.
Thank you, Sia. Very kind words from my main man, Sia Nejad, this morning. I appreciate you. By the way, in the chat, speaking of other sports, I saw my man Gipper's picks, who's always dropping UFC gems. He said, I know Danny's on Houston minus 10. My friend, I'm on Tennessee minus 10. So there's just a little lean for me, college basketball-wise. The Dalton Connect show should continue. But I'm here for Fight Night picks, Sia. UFC Fight Night this Saturday. We just came off an electric UFC 299 card. This one's a little more calm, but always value on the board. And let's start with the main event. I'm looking at Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa taking on Marcin Tybura. And I'm going to go with Tuivasa money line, but I will say this. Oh, my goodness, a deep sigh from Buckets. Is he coming out of showdown retirement? I already feel it in the air. I'm reading the tea leaves. I see his little smirk, but let me give the analysis first. Tai Tuivasa, this line is a little suspicious, so maybe I understand why he's on it. I would have imagined he would be a bigger favorite in this spot. He's coming off 3 straight losses and was finished in all of them, but they were against elite heavyweight strikers, Cyril Gane, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov. This is his most winnable matchup in a long time against Marcin Tybura, a guy who I like to call a clinch merchant. He will just get his hands on you, try to lay on you against the fence, and hopefully grind out a decision. I don't think he'll put Tuivasa at risk. So here's my caveat. I'm going to play Tuivasa money line. You can play knockout plus 110, but you can also put a small bet on Marcin Tybura by decision at plus 650 to hedge yourself. That way, if Tuivasa is unable to knock him out, if he grabs him up, just leans on him, and ends up grinding out an ugly decision, you can hedge yourself and cover your bet. So that's the first one in the main event. And then I like Charalampos Grigoriou. Good luck saying this one on the recap. This is a Cyprian fighter. No fighters out of Cyprus right now. Let me tell you something. As a Greek man myself, the Cyprians still got that warrior culture about them.
Yes.
I think Chip knows. This guy trains at Longo Weidman MMA, very famous MMA gym. He's getting a lot of one-on-one time with Ray Longo, the head coach, and he's making his UFC debut here against Chad Anheliger, a sort of crafty veteran with good footwork. But it feels like a setup fight. You see a 37-year-old against a much younger guy making his debut out of Longo Weidman. I think the Cyprian has the ferocity and the power to run through Anheliger. So I'm going to take him on the money line. More juice than I typically give out, Sia. You know I like to bring UFC plus money picks, but minus 165, I still find value here. So that's my pick for the prelims in UFC Fight Night.
Well, I mean, you did acknowledge that there was a smirk on Bucket's face. And in his defense, he often has that smirk for no reason whatsoever. But Buckets, maybe there's a reason this time?
Yeah, I smirk all the time without reason, but this is one of those very meaningful smirks here. I announced a couple weeks ago after my heart episode that I was no longer doing showdowns. I had to remove stress from my life. I had to be careful. But at the same time, I'm not going to turn down easy money when I'm looking at somebody taking Tai Tuivasa on the money line. You're calling Tiber a clinch merchant. He can be a clinch merchant. He's won 8 of his last 10 fights, and one of his 2 losses came to that same Alexander Volkov that beat Tuivasa. So it's not like he's also not losing to elite opponents here. I don't think Tiber should be the underdog. I would have played him at -115, -130 here. So Danny Brasco, if you're up for it, and if my heart will hold up here, I'm coming out of retirement, baby, because this one screams for a showdown. You in?
Get the baby aspirin out, Snake. Play the music.
Wow. That was awesome. Oh, by the way, buckets, I don't even know what that is. You started the show with that. What is that?
That is the celebration of Portuguese striker Victor Gutierrez playing for Sporting. Whenever he scores, he runs towards the opponent fans and just does this. And for some reason, I think it's really sick. So I've started doing it. It's not working in my dating life that well, but I have started doing it more frequently day to day.
I'm
Dude,
shocked.
never doubt Bucket's chops. This guy is not like, this guy's watching. Right? Yes. I mean, like you have to watch to know the Selly for sporting in the Portuguese league. Like, that's not even a Big 5 league. That's incredible.
That actually is incredible. I'm glad you pointed that out. By the way, Gipper's pick says, let Danny do more. I do want to say this. And I want to get to this Grillo versus Nick Taylor conversation that's being had in the chat. If you want to do what we do, and you want to give takes or what have you. I mean, obviously we have some of the best on this show every single day, but particularly today. I would literally go back and watch what Danny just did over and over again, even if UFC is not your sport. In terms of the delivery, the manner of speaking, the words, the voice inflection, like there's so many things, subtle things that he does to like give a perfect take. And I will say the same about so many other early edge people. But since Gipper's picks kind of brought it up, and since I had just taken a few of your seconds to compliment Danny before his take, I genuinely encourage people to go back, listen to that take, and just start trying to figure out if you can do something close to that, then you are probably fit to be on a show like this. I just want to point that out because I know there's a lot of aspiring cappers in the chat as well. And you, Danny, are a very good model for that.
Thank you so much, Sia. By the way, I got to say, I love being here. The early edge, the chat, the people I work with. There's a lot of like toxicity and negativity in the sports betting space. You don't find that here. I come here and I start my day the right way. Whatever the picks are, whatever the results are, I come here for friendship, for entertainment, for knowledge, and that's all here at the early edge. So I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you, Sia.
Well, we love the positivity. We absolutely love the positivity. We love the energy, and we certainly get that on Fridays, but also every other day. Real quick, before we get to our SportsLine side picks and Chip Patterson's plays, Grillo over Nick Taylor. So if you watched the early wedge on Tuesday, and Japan, I know you're a big Grillo supporter, probably president of the fan club. I know you and Big Cheesy were asking about that particular matchup. I think in my 3 DFS plays, Nick Taylor was one of them. And by the way, he was also a first round leader, and he was one shot off at 80-1. He was one shot off. All he needed to do was birdie the final hole, which was a par 5. He was in the fairway, and then he just couldn't manage a birdie for some reason. But we almost hit that 80-1 shot, which would have been a split. But my point in bringing all that up isn't just to pat myself on the back. It's that I really like Nick Taylor going into this tournament. I love him in loaded fields. He's an absolute beast, and I do like him from a course setup standpoint. I kind of like Grillo too, but I would probably back away from targeting Nick Taylor. If that's what you all want to do, that's great. But just if you're asking my advice, I would stay away from that one. My lean would actually be Nick Taylor in that one, but it's not something I am betting. All right. We got to get to our SportsLine site pick. We've actually got 2, including an NBA prop, and we've got another college basketball game, and then we got to get to Chip's picks. But before we do that, one quick message from our partners.
Who's in? Who's out? Let the madness begin. The NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Selection Show on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, a couple of SportsLine site picks. And Chip, before I give out, or before I kick it to you, I do want to ask you, after I give out the SportsLine side picks, about my Nebraska play, if you have an opinion. I'm just curious more than anything. But let's get to the SportsLine picks. Western Kentucky -5.5. This one's at 3:00 this afternoon. We got games like basically starting in a couple hours. We got golf that's going on right now. This is just like yesterday, where you can bet, you can watch and sweat throughout this entire day and evening. Western Kentucky -5.5. They played Middle Tennessee. This is a SportsLine site pick. You can get so many more SportsLine site picks if you're a member of SportsLine. Again, this one's at 3 p.m. And then we've got this one, I believe, is from Proppy. We got the Magic versus the Raptors. This one's at 7:30 tonight. And we've got a prop on Bruce Brown's under 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists at minus 125. Again, these are already given out by Proppy and by other SportsLine members on the SportsLine app. If you want to get them early before the lines shift, you got to be a SportsLine member. Just go to sportsline.com/join. You get 60% off by typing in the promo code winners. If you're not already a member, I genuinely don't know what you're doing. There's so much data in there. There's so many picks. There's so much analysis with the articles, and we cover all of the sports. All right, Chip, before we get to your pick, and I know you've got a Big Ten pick, you got a Pac-12 pick. Any thoughts on the Nebraska line? Again, minus 3.5. It's minus 4 in some places too. Either way, do you like Nebraska to win by more than a possession against Indiana tonight?
It's a no play for me, but it's a notepad out game because we're going to really start to put something to the test. Nebraska all season long, excellent in Pinnacle Bank. Like so good when teams came to Lincoln, different team when it left. Okay. So that is our big red flag for Nebraska when we're thinking about the tournament, because sometimes in conference tournament, it's not just getting your winner. It's about putting together your profile for when you're filling out your bracket and betting the NCAA tournament. Nebraska is going to be in the NCAA tournament. They aren't in the NCAA tournament usually. Let's see how they perform in the neutral court tournament environment. See if it's a true median between their home and away splits, or see if it leans one way or the other. For me, again, no play, but big taking notes game as we're looking at Nebraska, given their home road trends from throughout the season and the fact that we're neutral court from here on out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Chip, before we get to your picks, quick answers to some golf questions. Hoagie over Seabez, I actually would stay away from there. Seabez is really good on this course. I kind of like him. I don't like him to beat Hoagie. That would just be a stay away. Eric David, interesting. You have a boost where you can get Cantley plus 100 versus Henley. I really do like that. Cantley anywhere close to even money versus Henley, who I think was very underwhelming yesterday. Again, that was the matchup we lost. He was just kind of scattered, and frankly, his ball striking lately has been a little scattered. So I do kind of like Cantley, especially at plus 100 there. Big cheesy Kentucky minus 5.5. Interesting play there. All right, Chip, you got 2 college basketball picks. What you got?
Oh, well, first, I do need to remind everybody that game between Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee, you can find it on Mothership CBS Sports Network, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. They got the CUSA Conference USA tournament there going on the Mothership. But I am going to be turning your attention to the Big Ten. We'll have the Big Ten final on CBS coming up on Sunday. Illinois getting going here in the quarterfinals. They're going to be going up against Ohio State. And one thing that we have found that's very interesting since Ohio State fired Chris Holtmann on Valentine's Day. Very mean, very, very mean. But they have gone 6-1 since then, since Jake Diebler took over. They took down Purdue. They've gotten all these wins. Ohio State's roaring back. But let's dig into the details here because they have also picked up their pace. If you just pull up their profile for their season-long statistics, then it shows them with the little blue number, right? You Ken Pom people know about my little like reds and blues looking up at the thing. But if you just look at the 7 games since Diebler took over, they are running with teams that run. I don't think that that's a way to hang with Illinois. Illinois, of course, has the 1-2 punch of Terrence Shannon and Marcus Domask, and I believe that they're going to be able to cover this 4.5. Also, going to take you to the Pac-12 tournament where I need to dispel a myth. A lot of people say every 21 of the last 22 national champions have been, this rating on offense, this rating on defense. But they're looking at the final ratings. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but you've got to win 6 games in a row to win a national championship. Did you know that? Yeah,
yes.
It's crazy. And you've got to play well to win 6 games in a row. So it's interesting. If you're the national champion, your rating at the end of the season is so much better than it was on Selection Sunday. Because the examples of teams that fall outside of the magical top 25 offense, top 25 defense windows who go on to win the national championship, talking about 2009 UNC, talking about 2015 Duke, they were outside of the top 25 in defense. They were excellent offensively, but over the course of the tournament, they locked it down. And that's what I saw from Arizona against USC. That is a team that is excellent offensively, but defense has been the weakness. I think Tommy Lloyd knows that they need to improve defensively. I think we see that against Oregon, so I'm going to go team total under 71.5 on the Ducks.
Oh, that feels like a very sharp play. And while you were giving those sharp plays, Buckets so rudely was basically illustrating how little he was paying attention to you, Chip, and how much he was paying attention to anybody that would mention his name in the chat. And it appears that someone has the hand is up. Buckets, go ahead.
I've got to thank you for calling on me. I like
You're
to
welcome.
be appropriate and make sure I'm not talking over people here. Chip, just random curiosity getting the better of me here. Have you ever done a showdown on one of these BPEs before?
I have.
You have? Okay.
Yes.
Have you ever done a showdown against me before?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think we have, because if we had, I would have sent you $100 already, because I do not win these very often. However, I just moved to Columbus, and as a lifelong Ohio State Buckeyes fan now, I cannot sit here and listen to the slander against my OHIO. So if you were down for it, I'm looking to double up and come out of retirement twice. I'll take Buckeyes on the spread there against Illinois. Give me the plus 4.5. If you're up for it, of course. No pressure.
Fight.
Snake, play the music.
It's gonna be a showdown.
For some reason, I thought, I mean, that's just so ridiculous. Chip, I thought that you were, I could have sworn you abstained from doing showdowns. Am I wrong about that?
I abstain with, I normally do, but I saw our little buddy flying so close to the sun. So I'm just like, all right, sure, buckets. Okay, you talked me into this.
Go ahead, Danny.
Chip, I got a question about the total in this game, Ohio State, Illinois. I'm looking at some great sports line trends. Sia mentioned checking out the site and all it has to offer. And I love the trend insights it has. What do you think about the over in this game, considering that they're playing at such a high pace?
Yeah, I was on Iowa, Ohio State over yesterday. That cashed, and Illinois has been a good over team coming down the stretch as well. If you want, that is like you know me, I'm a big game script guy. Like, let's take in all the information. How do we think this goes? What are the plays that make sense? Illinois, because they've got more flamethrowers, and yeah, an over definitely makes sense there as well.
20-10 to the over this season, 11-2 to the over on road or neutral sites. This is all on SportsLine, guys. And when they play a team that's allowing an average of 67 to 72 points per game, they're 8-2 to the over against said team. So good trends.
I mean, listen, that's all well and good, but if you just noticed what happened, this is one of the funnier moments I think I've ever seen, where James Murphy said, "Yeah, buckets." He said, "Columbus represent." And of course, he's over his left shoulder is a Michigan sticker, which I think may have been sent to Buckets P.O. Box by Eric David. I'm doing some investigation on the fly here. He says, "Don't touch that sign," with at least 5 exclamation points. So representing Columbus, but with a Michigan Wolverine sticker behind him. And he slowly and delicately tries to put it down and turn it around. But we all caught it, Buckets, thanks to your classic smirk.
No
That
comment.
was great.
No comment.
No comment indeed. All right, let's transition from that to the recap screen. Let's take a look at all of these picks we've given you. Lion Dave Leon, Dave Matthews Band, of course, that's draw no bet. DNB -115, FC Cologne, RB Leipzig, both teams to score at -135. I got Nebraska -3.5. That's at -110, by the way. And the players round 2 this afternoon, Jason Day -120 over Min Woo Lee. Danny Brasco, Tuivasa, moneyline -114, and Gregorio, moneyline -165. Chip Patterson, Illinois -4.5, and Oregon team total under 71.5. SportsLine site picks. We got Western Kentucky. That's at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern Standard Time at -5.5. And Bruce Brown under 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -125. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, what a show. Real quick, if you haven't already registered, and I know these three have already registered, I know I've already registered for the Early Edge Bracket Challenge. You want to play against us? This is a really good way to do it. It's officially March, and that means madness. Join the Early Edge Bracket Challenge and compete against our cappers for prizes and bragging rights. First place takes home a year subscription to SportsLine. Link for the bracket pool is in the description. See terms and conditions for offer details. You're going to want to be a part of that. That's going to be super, super fun. Wow, speaking of fun, we went pretty long today, and that's what happens when we have Chip Patterson, when we have Danny Brasco, when we have Buckets. That was a very, very good show. I'm proud to be a part of it. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to get you out of here. We got to get you started on your Friday. Let's stay positive. Let's cash some bets. And even if we don't, let's figure out a way to stay positive throughout the day. But listen, we had a winning day yesterday. Let's have a winning day again today. On behalf of Jake the Snake, doing all of this stuff behind the scenes on the 1s and 2s and 19s and 20s, on behalf of Chip Patterson, Buckets, Danny Brasco, and the entire chat, we appreciate you so much. This is the Early Edge. I am the counselor, and we rest our case.